Good morning, podcast community. Yes, this is a special podcast. Oop, I gotta move my thing here. Okay, we have rock stars in the house. Well, not in this house, but their house. Okay, so we're gonna have it's really mindset, and we're gonna talk about why mindset's important. And when you capture mindset, it creates an echo effect because it manifests itself later in life, but you don't see it when you're doing all the hard work. You just don't see it until it comes when you've done the work and the discipline. Okay, so let's do this. Girls first. We're gonna go counterclockwise because the reason we're gonna go counterclockwise is in life, everybody goes clockwise. They just follow the crowd. You guys are trendsetters. So, well, like story setters. So, Joanie, tell our viewers who you are, what you do, and who you serve. And we'll go to Crystal and then there.
So, my name is Joanie Cumberland, and I own Rise Up Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
What's going on?
Yeah.
Maybe your headset or something. I don't know.
I just went away now.
Sounds like a waterfall or something.
I can disconnect mine and see if it's me.
Yeah, just see. Yeah, that'd be a good test. Since we're live, hey, everybody's going to have to work with us. I still hear it. We should have done our testing, but it didn't work. Okay.
It wasn't happening when we weren't live though.
Yeah.
Like a vent or AC or something.
It's something tiny bit. Go ahead and try. Go ahead and tell our audience. We'll see how it goes. Okay. So you own.
Rise Up Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and it's the only.
Okay, I tell you what. I'm going to take you out for a second, and then I'm going to introduce Crystal, and then I'll bring you back. Okay. If we eliminate the noise, I'll bring you back. No, I'm going to bring you back anyway. Okay, Crystal. Tell our audience, tell our viewers who you are, what you do, and who you serve.
Well, my name is Crystal, Coach Crystal. I'm preferred to be called, I guess, most times. The name of my business is called Sea Life Fit, and I'm a health and wellness coach and a fitness instructor. And my motto is to help people uncover and discover a better version of themselves so they can transform not only their bodies, but their minds, and to live the best life that they can.
Wow. I get inspired every time I hear that. So that's awesome. It might be, Joanie, it could be that. Okay, Eryk, go ahead and give our viewers who you are, what you do, and who you serve.
Gotcha. Yeah. So Eryk Watson, I work in finance and consolidated planning. And so what I do is financial advising. So I help with a lot of investments, insurances, personal plans. It depends on if we're working with a lot of things we do in that realm. And outside of that, I'm very involved with the youth and help coach kids and basketball and try and give back, pass on my experiences. So
I know. It's so good to give back and impact at such a young age. He's a little younger than me. Okay. All right. Let's see if we can get I hear a little bit of it. That's kind of crazy. I don't know why. Okay, let's bring Joanie back.
Okay, I think it's.
Oh, look at that. We switched places there. Okay. All right. So I wanna go around the room and I'm gonna ask the same question. Okay, dang. You hear it? Hold it. I don't know. No, I can still.
If it's me, it would stop when I mute myself.
I know, unless it's connected. All right, let me just go for a second because we'll lose viewers if we can't get this. Okay. Nope, that's right. Let me take Eryk off for a second. Oh, okay. Let me bring Eryk back because it's not him. Wow, it's quiet now. Okay. Okay. It's still a little bit. That's weird. Okay. All right. Let's just go. Come on back, Eryk. If it gets too loud, we'll do. I don't know what we'll do. Okay. So let's do this. Hey.
Eryk's not coming back here.
Yeah. Okay. Let's go with our girls. Okay, Crystal. So I want you to kind of talk to our viewers. When you started your career, you obviously knew what you wanted to do. Give our viewers an idea when you made a shift as from speech pathology, really making an impact on people, to move down to Atlanta, new career, what kind new area, what kind of mindset, what were you thinking about? What can we learn from that time when you were kind of processing that and thinking about easy paycheck? Now I go to the unknown. Walk our viewers through that process.
Well, I don't think that you wake up one day and you just decide to do something that is drastically different than your lifestyle, without gradual steps along the way, of being challenged. And, Pete, we talk a lot about the difference between a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. And a person with a growth mindset is open to new experiences, and is willing to take a risk, even if it means failing before you quote unquote succeed. People with a fixed mindset, above all else, wants to stay safe, right? And they stay within the realm of what they feel that they can accomplish and win at. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but it doesn't allow you to grow and to experience facets of yourself that you might have never known before, unless you allow yourself to step outside the boat. I always tell people that when anything that happens in your life, it's something that is new. It requires change, and change and comfort cannot coexist. So I think a lot of people, because of the fear of the unknown, they limit themselves. And I'm not saying that whenever you're trying to do something new or different, that it's always going to work out the first time, that you're always going to know the next step. But I think when you prepare yourself as best as possible, and in my case, you trust God in the process and you give 100%, then you don't have any regrets. And so I'm very grateful for opportunities that I've been provided with. And I just would encourage anybody that, whether it's in your career, or whether it's in your health, or whether it's in a relationship, like, to be able to always see an opportunity to grow and expand, and to be able to share your gifts, because a lot of times one of the reasons we don't grow is because we don't realize that not only when we grow we improve ourselves, but we also affect those around us in a positive way.
Yes, it's kind of a ripple effect, because when you did the first podcast, you brought a book, Mindset, and it's up. Let me see. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, and so it really dives deep. Carol DeWick is phenomenal at what she teaches, that open and closed mindset, that we tend to not, like, I find myself falling into a closed mindset, not even realizing it.
Sure.
So I have to kind of do a constant check. Am I keeping an open mind about this? Because I did it just about a month ago, and it was like McFly. I mean, just totally missing it because I had a closed mind when I was processing that situation. So, Joanie, tell our viewers, like, when you were just a little girl and you were like, okay, I'm going to go on a path where you are. I like that one thing about little steps that Crystal said. So walk us through your mindset of that initial early on, how you set only getting better at your skill. What was that like?
I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not sure what exactly you're asking me because of the sound.
It has happened, and it may not even be you, but when
It might be your headphones. Are they dying?
Yeah, I don't know. Let's just go. We can always do it again and do it under. Okay, so just walk us through your journey and why that created your opportunity to own your own studio.
Anyone else know what the question he's asking me? Because I can't hear.
I couldn't walk.
Oh, really?
I couldn't really hear.
Okay, let's go to Eryk, and we'll come back to you. Okay, because we obviously have some technical difficulties. All right, let's see if we can. I'm gonna see. Okay, yeah, we still hear it. Maybe go on and come off, Johnny, and then let's see if you come back to the studio if it might be better. I don't know if you can hear me. Okay, Eryk. Okay, let's take you back to. Yeah, it didn't get any better. Okay, let's try to do the best we can. Take us back to that moment when that person had an influence on you. What were you like thinking? Like you were the only one that did it. I don't know. Maybe there was another person. Probably not. What were you thinking? That's a long time ago. Let's say it's 20 years ago. No, maybe 18 years ago. What were you like? What was that journey like? Where you ended up?
It kind of skipped around real bad. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, you said what? Just want to make sure I heard the question because it skipped around. You said, what was I thinking when that person?
Yeah, when you decided to pursue basketball and the discipline and the work ethic, like every day had to be a challenge because you always have the distractions of the good life, like hanging out with your friends and doing nothing, not nothing, but you are there working and just crushing it each day because you don't get to be a professional unless you have a strong work ethic. So walk us through kind of those stages of your journey.
Gotcha. Yeah, absolutely. So I would have to say, I mean, it definitely took a village. I can't take all that personal credit in the sense of, I remember when he said that, like I enjoyed playing sports and I was heavy like football, basketball, baseball, and I had a group of friends where we all were heavy at playing basketball, so we all were able to kind of push each other, and so like having that community of like-minded individuals of wanting to go to that next level definitely helped me in that background. So, but yeah, like I knew I wanted to. How that he was describing, okay, yeah, I'm gonna do that. I love playing sports. I want to be a pro athlete, and then like you see that you like had family taking us to games. I'm like, oh yeah, I want to do this. Like, yeah, you can go around the world and do this. I'm like, oh yeah, I like make a lifestyle off of playing a sport. I'm like, yeah, I definitely want to make this happen. So you just start learning, hey, with your friends, like, let's get serious with this thing. Let's get serious with this thing. So it's, so you start to waking up early in the morning, and even when you don't want to, you start picking the brains of athletes. So you ask them, hey, how'd you do it? What did it take for you to get there? Like, you got to be different. You got to be different. Like, there's a ton of people looking around. There's a ton of people wanting to make it. They want the same thing. So what are you going to do to stand out? So eventually, like, you just start doing that. You just got to start being creative. So I remember somebody was like, I shoot 1,000 shots a day, or I was like, I shoot 500 shots a day. I was like, well, okay, well, shooting is one thing. Well, what if I make 500 a day? Because if you're making 500, that's a lot different. So little things like that try and set you apart.
So, love that. Yeah, that just tells you. I mean, I love that because it's challenging yourself. Because shooting 500 and making 500 are two different things. I mean, just shifts that mindset to you got to be making them. I mean, not just going through the motions. That's so good. Yeah, we're gonna. Hey, for our audience, we're going to come back with better audio. So we apologize for whatever it is. This platform, I'm going to send it to my friend, and he'll probably give us the reason for it. Okay, let's see. Joanie, can you hear me now? Sort of, kind of, but okay.
Try to mute your mic.
Okay. Yeah,
Because I
that's
think
good.
the feedback on your end.
It might be. Yeah.
Yeah, because it stopped for y'all now, right? I don't
Yeah.
hear any feedback. Yeah. Yeah. So I think Pete asked me to talk about my journey and coming up into jiu-jitsu. And I started when I was 16. And when I was doing jiu-jitsu, I was always the smallest one. I was also the youngest one. And so I had to really keep pushing through and realize, jiu-jitsu is a very physical sport for those of y'all who don't know what it is. And it is made so that the smaller person can beat a bigger opponent who doesn't know jiu-jitsu. And so when you're sparring in jiu-jitsu and you're the smallest one, it's constantly a battle of like, am I not good enough? It's already hard enough in jiu-jitsu to know what you're doing. And so you just kind of have to keep pushing through and going like, okay, as you start learning things, like you add a little bit here, a little bit there, you start getting a little bit better, and then you start to see like, okay, these moves are working. I always tell my students that are younger or smaller, like instead of being upset because you're losing, start thinking like, well, this time I only lost 15 times in the round, and losing meaning like they got a submission on you, so you had to start over. And so as you keep going, it's like, okay, well, today it was only 3 times I got submitted, and now it's no times. And eventually as you start going, it's like, okay, I was able to hit one move on them, I was able to hit a few other moves, into where eventually you start to gain that confidence, like, okay, these things that I'm learning, they do work. And over time, the more you keep working and refining those skills and adding more, then you start to get better and better as you go on. So talking about, how do you build confidence? It's trial and error and continuing to add just a little bit more every time so that you can get to exactly where it is that you want to be going. I'm not sure.
Well, you got to
I
unmute.
just removed my headset. I think that's it.
That's a lot better.
Yeah, I have a Bluetooth thing on. I think that was the interference. All right, we finally got there. Okay. All right, let's go. All right, let's go, Crystal. All right. So
Your Bluetooth reconnected, I think.
No, I turned it off, but dang, it worked for a second there.
Did the air conditioning cut on?
Crystal, you were muted.
Okay. So now
I think it's Crystal.
Okay. I think it's Crystal. Dang, Crystal. We found out who it is. Okay. We'll work on that later date. Now, hey, look, it's a process of elimination and it's mindset. We started out thinking who it was and we went around full circle. Okay, so Crystal, when you come on, we'll have to expect. Oops, am I on mute? Yeah, we'll have to expect that maybe we hear a little bit. Okay, Eryk, let me go to you then. All right, so tell our viewers, I want you to kind of, now that you've have an incredible story and you're impacting youth with your story, how are you challenging the youth that you're impacting? Dang, now I got, oh man. How are you impacting the youth with your story to get them to kind of, maybe do a little bit more, maybe get in a better mindset? Is there anything that you're doing so far that you've seen some traction or seen some results?
Well, interesting enough. So I'm kind of in like the start over stage with the private school that I'm helping out with now.
Mm-hmm.
And so something about me, like I don't like coming out the gate like, hey, I did this, I did that. Like, so what usually happens is somebody will look it up and they find it. But But they're in the beginning stages of kind of learning how to play. So right now we're in the aspect of just kind of like it's a lot of the encouraging, it's a lot of like introducing things and like learning the basics. And so the cool thing about it with them is it's like you see the wheels turning and you see like trying to take them through like just a little bit of stages. And so you're seeing them kind of learn a little bit of the fundamentals. You're starting to see like the light bulb start to click. So it's the challenges are like when you can tell that they can't really tell they're doing something just yet, or if they can do it, and you kind of do like a little walkthrough drill, like you start seeing the light bulb and you break it down, then they do it in live action, and it's like, okay. So it's very early, very beginning. They're young, you know. I've got the second grade through the middle school. So I mean, so yeah, so you got a lot of parents involved. So we still in the beginning stages, but it's a lot of confidence building. You can do it, and then like just one step at a time with them. So
yeah, that's when you think back to your story where that person came and gave you a vision of where you could take athletics. I mean, you were young. Everybody gets maybe exposed to people, but some take it and some don't. So, I mean, and I've
Right.
noticed this by doing all these podcasts, that givers always are giving so much it hurts because you're always giving. You're always giving. So, but the old oxygen mask on the plane, you got to put the oxygen mask on first before you help the person next to you. And I've seen it over and over again. It's almost like it's a pattern. Because you're a giver, you downplay your success because that's not what got you there. You were just working hard and crushing it. But we do have to put the oxygen mask on. And it's almost like, and this is just my comment. That guy inspired you to go to the highest level. You can be that inspiration too, not in a boastful way, but in an accomplishment way. Traveling the world, going to play in Brazil and Romania, achieving the highest level of performance in college with the rings. When we first met, just for our viewers, we met at a drafting party for some friends. And I was talking to Eryk, and I noticed he had 1 or 2 rings on. I think it was 2. And I just went, whoa, what is that? I mean, because it's just a symbol of accomplishment. And he told me a little of his story. And then he got on my podcast. And so I understood a little bit more. But rings are just an accomplishment. Nobody goes to Maryville and gets 5 rings unless they accomplish something. They don't hand them out like, okay, Eryk, you went through school here. Here's a ring. They don't do it that way. So it's almost like I would challenge you to do this. Do it in such a way that's humble, but gives them that vision of what's possible. Because these kids in second grade, they're just like enthralled about what people are doing, but they have to be inspired because they have to see the vision of working hard and having good work ethic and discipline where it can take them. All right, now let me get off that soapbox. Okay, so Crystal, this one's coming to you. So there's obviously tough times along the journey when you make that career move, you move to a strange town, you don't know everybody. Tell our viewers your mom's story. I love it. And that's what 3 ladies came home from the community center. And independently, they told me Crystal's story. And they said, you got to get Crystal on your podcast. She's like, and then she went. So share with our viewers that time when you helped your mom, and now I got a chance to meet her about a month ago, and wonderful person. Wonderful.
I just want to say, I just want to piggyback on what you both said about taking small steps along the way and being focused on what was working in terms of when you're developing a skill set. I love how you guys were sharing about being okay with the process, right? Most times people are really so focused on the goal that they lose sight of the needed process along the way. And, Pete, you were talking about the echo effect. And I think about, I don't know if you guys know, but like bamboo is a plant. And for over 10 years, in the development of a bamboo forest, you don't see anything above ground because it's growing its roots. And after 10 years, those shoots, they shoot up within like sometimes 2 feet a day. That's how fast they grow up. So I think a lot of times it's what we do underground that we see the process, and then we see the results, like with jitsu, and how you see even when you were little, how you were able to kind of develop those skills, and not necessarily always win, but every time you gain. And with Eryk, how you're like, I'll shoot so many baskets, and how many do I get? And I think in my story, what Pete was referring to is that I was a therapist for so many years, and I would see people come in, for rehab, and a lot of the comorbidities, whether it was, a stroke or a heart attack or a fall or a head injury, was due to the fact that they could have made simple lifestyle changes to prevent or at least manage their health. And I have a mom who just really did not want to exercise. I mean, we gave her every form of equipment known to man, and she just would start and stop. And my story is that I made a commitment, and I said, Mom, I'll go to the gym with you, and I'll help walk you through the process. And in doing that, I saw her transform not only her body, but the way she thought about exercise, the importance of it, and wanting to not only be consistent about it, but also bring other people that she knows struggled in that area into that environment and help support them. And so in that, that's how I became a fitness instructor, and then ultimately a health and wellness coach. And like you said, Pete, when you were referring to Eryk, that it's always important for each one to reach one. Whatever it is that you're good at or that you're gifted at, I believe that we all are called to be able to share and give that back. And in my case, not only did it help my mom, but it also turned my career to do something totally different. And I hope that I can be effective to other people, and then they can be effective to somebody else. And so it's this ongoing ripple effect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want you to just share with our viewers from the heart, how does that affect you? I didn't know the bamboo effect. That's awesome. That has just a picture in my mind of really what life is. 10 years of building roots and then going up 2 feet in like a day. That's crazy. I mean, crazy to think it can grow that fast once the roots are solid. So tell me, let's go to Joanie. How does this, what you're doing at this stage of your life, how does that affect your heart?
So it is really nice. I also have, I don't know if y'all can hear the birds. I had to go outside. My dad came downstairs. But with my students, I start them at 4. I don't teach the little 4-year-olds. I've done it, but it's not for me. It's a lot of energy. But I start 7 and up, and whether it's kids or adults, honestly, it's just watching them be able to do this thing that they all thought they couldn't do, because everyone kind of knows like jujitsu is very difficult on your body, on your mind, and they say jujitsu is for everyone. And I had talks even with little kids, like it's not for the mentally weak. It's a very hard sport. Our tagline used to use the whole thing that martial, like the taekwondo and karate schools use, the confidence building thing. Confidence starts here. And I was like, what am I doing? That is not where confidence does not start here. When you do jiu-jitsu, it's your confidence gets killed here first, and then we build it up for real. And so seeing these people come in and knowing, like, it's awkward. You're doing things with your body that you're not used to doing. You're like, oh, let me move my hand, and then you move your foot, and then so it's a lot of body coordination. And so just seeing people where they start off and then seeing where they get to, and being able to help them accomplish these things that they didn't think they could, and that they can. you've gone through it, you've seen other people go through it, right? And so, and it's the same thing I get told all the time. Well, coach, you're a black belt, and it's like, that's cool, guys, but where did I start? I was even smaller before, because it's that whole thing like, well, I'm too small, or I'm too weak, or I'm too this, and it's I tell them all the time, you're playing the world's tiniest violin to me, because that's irrelevant, right? So you have to get them to somehow see that, and once you start seeing that light, and like Eryk was saying earlier, when you see it start to click in, and you see the kids, adults, teenagers, whoever, go like, oh wow, this is something I can do. This is something I didn't know I would be able to do this. And then a lot of times, people don't look back, and so I have to be like, well, do you remember when you first started and you couldn't do this, this, and this, and now you're just upset because you can't pull off this magic thing at the top? They call it black belt magic, and it's like, well, same thing, right? So it's seeing that when they finally like realize like, oh wow, like I did this thing, this is incredible. And I think, like you were saying, and I think it was to Eryk or to Crystal, but when you are the person that does all these things, it's hard to talk about yourself and your accomplishments. There is a time and a place to do it, but it doesn't feel like this great thing. It's just like, I just do this, right? So to get people to look back and be like, oh, look what you did, is very important, because that makes them realize like, wow, okay, this is something good. This is something I'm doing. And so you got to take that time every once in a while to look at your accomplishments, look at those things along the way. But being able to see that and seeing their reaction is incredible. Same with coaching them in competition, coaching them in class. So I would say that's, just the reward of seeing that light in people's eyes when they're like, oh, yeah, I did this thing.
Yeah. Do you feel like, let's go to Crystal first, then we'll go to Eryk. Like when you wake up and you're like setting the day, how do you approach your day from a standpoint of you're making an impact? How do you put it in the context of really, I know you, because I know your heart, you're giving back. So what does that look like? Like you're not doing anything unintentional. You're doing intentional work. Give our viewers an idea what that day looks like from your perspective of one. What do you say? Do help one? What was the?
Each one reach one?
Yeah, each one reach one.
Yeah.
So how does that like play into how you live every day?
Well, I think, not that every day is amazing, but every day is a gift. And I think when you realize that the gifting that you have is something that is to be shared, and that it's an honor for people to allow you to pour into their life. And like what Joanie was saying, and I'm sure Eryk could agree, and you as well, Pete, is that when somebody comes to you to learn a new skill, they're trusting you. They're trusting you with their heart, they're trusting you with their body, they're trusting you with your decision making, and you can't take that for granted. And so when I am doing fitness training, or if I'm doing health coaching, I want that person to feel that, for one, I'm competent in what I'm teaching them. I'm on their team, and I believe in them. And I'm going to do my best to get the best out of them, and also make sure that they stay accountable to themselves. Because at the end of the day, I'm just a coach to them, but they have to be able to develop a sense of self-efficacy where my ultimate goal is that you don't have Coach Crystal for the rest of your life, that you develop the skill sets and the tools that you can fly. And that gives me the biggest joy, when people take the skill sets that I've been able to provide for them and they own them for themselves, and then they are able to create their own story out of it.
Oh, I love that. We're going to make a short, what do you call it? Those short form videos out of that quote right there. Yes, that was good, Crystal. Thank you. So Eryk, why don't you because you're now pouring back into the youth, and take a day that you're working with your youth and a day that you're doing your profession of finance. What's the difference in how your heart feels when you're pouring into the kids versus just doing, your regular routine?
I'm sorry, it cut out for a second. Can you repeat the question? I'm so sorry.
Okay. So the difference between you pouring into your youth, giving back, the days that you give back and you're out there working with our young people, that day versus a day where you're just doing the financial thing. What's the difference in your heart? I just want to know, is there a difference in your mind, or are you just in that mindset all the time that when I give, I'm going to give, and when I'm doing something else, I'm going to give my best? Is there a difference?
Yeah, I would definitely say there's a difference, just because you're impacting the youth, and that's very powerful. Like, I mean, even in day job, yes, I'm still helping people, helping adults and whatnot, but like there's just something about helping the youth where there is a mindset shift, and it's like, so we're living the adult life, and like you're preparing them for the adult life. And so for me, when I'm helping the youth, I'm quick to tell them, like, hey, we're using this basketball platform as a tool for life, so like I never try and treat them as just basketball players. So it's when I'm teaching and breaking things down, it's about like letting them know, like, hey, this same challenge that you're struggling with, whether it's making a layup or trying to figure this out, like, or you not seeing something with a teammate, coach, or however, like there's going to be some aspect in life where you may be applying for this job or something going on in relationship, life-wise, or whatever. A challenge is going to happen. And how are you going to adapt and overcome that? So like trying to train that mindset and plant those seeds early to where like right now it's just basketball, but you're going to be, whether it's class, job, school, something outside of it, like it's about teaching and planting those seeds on how to handle challenges. And we're just using basketball as a platform. So there is a different feel, because it's like just knowing the importance of that and knowing the road that these kids are about to go. And, to Crystal's point, like, hey, them to you, they trust you, so the parents, they trust you. Like, what are you pouring into our kid? So because if you think back, it's, you can make a positive impact, but a lot of people, they have negative impacts too, so like dramatic experiences, however the case may be. So I just try and be very sensitive to that. So I'm very intentional and just be that life, be that light. And really build confidence and teach how to overcome challenges, because life is going to be full of challenges. And so there is a difference, I would say.
Golly, that's good. I love that. Yeah, there's challenges every step of the way in life. That's so good. So we're going to wind down here because I know y'all have your individual careers and you got to go out there and crush it. So we're going to, Joanie, I want you like pour it into youth versus adults. Is there a difference in how you're training? Does it make a difference in how you are doing things with the different age groups?
Honestly, not really.
Mm-hmm.
When I started helping with the little kids class, I listened to a book called How to Talk So Little Kids Will Listen. And it made me realize what the problem with the adults today is. So I I honestly try to teach them very similarly. It's, a lot of them didn't get what they should as kids. And so it's like, okay, I got to do this to the kids, but now I also got to do it to the adults because they didn't get it as kids. Same with the teenagers, right? I think teenagers is the hardest one because, especially if I've had them since they were kids, that's where they get their hormones and you start to see that shift in them. And so it's like, I've got some kids that I can mess around with and they're typically doing really well. And when they do something bad, I'll say something like, oh, that was trash, do it again. Right. But then once they're teenagers, then, I've had a girl cry before and I was like, oh my gosh, no, I've had you for 5 years. You know what I meant? And they can't help it. So I think teenagers is a little bit harder because it's harder to read them. It's harder to work with them because they're in that transitional spot in their life. But I would say I honestly teach them about the same. And I feel like I have to have more patience with the adults because it's so hard. You look at them and you're like, you should know where your right and left hand are, right? And so, and I constantly use this thing where I call it your jujitsu brain and your everyday brain.
Yeah.
And it's like when people start doing jujitsu, it's like they don't have an everyday brain. And I'm like, guys, push, pull. You know this. You know this in life, okay? Except for when you're reading it on a door, that's confusing. But you understand if I tell you to push something and I tell you to pull something. But as soon as it's like, okay, we're in jujitsu, you're gonna push them and then you're gonna pull them. They're like, and I'm like, no, you gotta push, then pull. And so it's, I think it's a little bit more frustrating with the adults because it's like you should know what you're doing. And then I have to constantly remember, I didn't know this stuff when I first started out. So you don't understand how your body works. And the nicest thing is when I have kids whose parents have been watching for a while, and from the outside, the parents are like, do this, you weren't listening to coach. And then they come in and they take a class and they're like, oh, I see. You were listening to coach. You just can't. It's so much harder than you think it is when she says, move your foot and you accidentally move your hand. So to me, it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, I'm working with someone who's trying to learn something typically new or something challenging. And so I kind of treat them the same way. It's just the ones where you have this expectation because of how old they are, like the little kids that are a lot bigger for their age. Like I have a girl, she's 12 and she's not fat, not super tall, but she's just a little bit bigger than me. And so everyone sees her and they're like, oh yeah, she's an adult. And it's like, no, she's 12. So I got to remember when she's in this class that she is only 12. Or when you got that, 6 or 7-year-old that's the size of an adult and they're in your class and you're like, hello, what are you doing? And it's like, oh gosh, he's only 8. And so for me, it would just be that thing where, when we have these expectations on someone because of their age or their size or what you think they understand, you still have to teach them like they don't. So I would say that's really the biggest difference is just that, right? Paying attention to everybody's down here at the beginning. They're all still learning and how to teach them all to make them understand. And I think that's, the fun part for me as an instructor is learning how to teach everybody, right? Making sure that it works for everyone. Because if my whole class doesn't understand, then I'm the one doing something wrong. And if one person's really struggling and I've taught it in every way that I can, then maybe they're just struggling with this technique, right? But I wouldn't say I teach them really any differently. They all get taught the same way.
No, that's so good. I heard Truett Cathy speak years ago, and I bought his book. It was like, it's easier to raise boys than to men. And when you think about it, we all grow up. Some of us don't grow up, and so we when we don't grow up, we need, it's harder to learn those basic things. So yeah, I can see what you said. That makes a lot of sense. So last question, then we're gonna go out and crush it with what we're doing. So Crystal, what would be the one thing that you would like our viewers to take away from our time on the podcast?
I would say, from everybody's just input today, it just resonated with me, just to be patient with yourself and to be okay with the process. And that, at the end of the day, we're all evolving if we allow ourselves to, and nothing is wasted. Like anything that you're learning in your life, that you can take that and to apply that into another area, whether it's how you see yourself or how you see the world or how you treat other people. So give yourself grace, be patient with the process, and always look in expectation for the next thing that you can learn and what you can serve and how you can give back.
Awesome. I love that. Thank you. So Eryk, I'll go to you, and then Joanie, you'll close us out. So what would you want, or what would be the one thing you would want our viewers to take home from our time on the podcast?
Yeah, just even piggybacking on Crystal in the aspect of like just giving yourself grace. Biggest thing is like, yeah, just remember that everyone starts somewhere, no matter what that is like everyone starts somewhere and you have to trust that process, have a routine and trust your routine, and like you're gonna evolve, know when to level up, know when it's starting to get easy and you need to like stack onto the challenges, so that is a yes, comfort zone, get out of your comfort zone. So, but yeah, so have a routine, trust the process, have grace with yourself, and just remember everyone starts somewhere.
Ooh, I love that. I love that. I was trying to find your contact. Joanie's contact information. So this is how you can get a hold of Eryk here. It's on the screen. And Crystal, I'm trying to find yours as we're talking. So Joanie, as we're finishing up, what would be the one thing you want our viewers to take home from our time together?
I would say, honestly, because what they both said is great, I'm going to go a slightly different route and say, find what it is that gives you joy when you're working. Don't stick around and do this thing just for money, right? Find what it is, what gift you have to offer to people, because it is something that doesn't feel genuine to just start doing, right? And that's something that I've been dealing with. It's like, okay, what is that unique gift that I have? Because it doesn't feel like anything we're doing is that unique, right? It's just we just do it. So find that thing that you enjoy and that puts a spark in you when you're doing it for other people, and that's how you can help them. Because there's no way I could do what Eryk. I don't do basketball. I like playing basketball, but that wouldn't be the route for me, right? So find that route for you that lets you be able to help these people, right? And like Crystal said too, is you have to remember that these people trust you. And so one of the ways that I have built confidence over the years is knowing if I think that I'm not good at something that people are coming to me for, then it's like I'm telling them that they're liars, right? So I always look at it like I'm trying to help them out and they trust me to do that thing. So I have to do it. So to me, it's just find what it is that you can help people with, how you can support them so that you can pay it forward. There is always a way to pay it forward. So with everything they said, give yourself grace, right? Have a routine, do these things, but then find the way to do it for you so that you can keep paying it forward for everybody else.
Awesome. Thank you. Now, so if you want to get a hold of Crystal, because I couldn't find her information in my quick search, call me. I'll get you in touch with Crystal. So if you're looking to get some help in the area of health and fitness, there's nobody better than Crystal Duke. And the others you saw, Joanie, if you want to learn jujitsu, okay, she's the person to go to. And then Eryk, man, if you're in youth, but if you want to get with a guy that's crushing it, you got to get a hold of Eryk. You want somebody to keep an eye on the money, because if you're not keeping an eye on the money will go, and it'll go in directions that you don't want it to go in. You got to have somebody professional that can watch it and make sure it grows like your career can grow. Thank you all for being on the health and fitness podcast, but really mindset podcast. You guys have really added so much value to our viewers and really given them the mindset they need to be a bamboo out there. I love that. I'll give credit to you, Crystal, the first time, then I'm going to take it. That's it. All right. Thank y'all very much. Appreciate y'all being here. And thank you, our viewers. Share this with people you know. Get this in the hands of people that really have to get a mindset, a mindset that'll take them maybe either as a growing bamboo or an echo effect in your life, because working hard and being disciplined does pay off. So thank you all very much for being with us.